Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm holding in my hands the Immortal Hulk number 50, and it's an interesting run. So first off, for some context, because if you clicked on this video, you saw the thumbnail, you know part of what we're going to talk about. I think that the Hulk as a title has struggled. It struggled for a while. Peter David had a really kind of epic run of the Hulk. Greg Pak came in and had another epic run of the Hulk. But in general, we've seen a lot of false starts with this book. We saw even Mark Silvestri come onto the title for a period of time where Bruce Banner did a huge heel turn, and it didn't really gain momentum. We've seen the Hulk killed, of course, by Hawkeye, and then brought back to life through the Avengers, the No Surrender event, and now certainly the Immortal Hulk. And in addition to that, we've also seen Al Ewing struggle. So Al Ewing, when I say struggle, by the way, I want to be clear. He's obviously one of the top performing writers. He's trusted by Marvel. He's on a lot of their top books, lots of fans and everything else. But heading into Immortal Hulk, and this is key, not what you know about now, but what you knew about when it was Immortal Hulk number 1, Al Ewing was somebody the company saw a lot of value in, but they'd also pulled the rug out from under him. He'd done Mighty Avengers, and the book had immediate crossovers and then got relaunched, and it got relaunched under Axis and then had to go into another crossover. And in general, he had the Ultimates, and then the Ultimates got relaunched, and he's been the guy who's I think had a lot of stops and starts to his series, and he's never really been able to gain true momentum in the way that, say, Hickman had, or Donny Cates had, or others. People liked him; he's a fan favorite, but either through the publisher or through other means, it seemed like a lot of things were getting in the way of his success. And Immortal Hulk was the first thing that really changed that. It was defying the odds. The Hulk, again, had struggled as a title for kind of a while. It was a return from the dead kind of take on the Hulk, which, Return from the Dead comics people weren't terribly thrilled about. And it was also the combination of Ewing and Joe Bennett. And it's worth noting that I don't think this title would have had any of the success that it did if Joe Bennett had not been on it. His style, his art, his kind of Cronenberg-like body horror type stuff, it set the mood for this series in a major way. And had he not been on it, I don't think it would have gotten the attention it did. Also, Ewing had a unique take, so we cannot deny that was a big deal. So there was a lot of aspects to this book that came together in just the right way. It hit at just the right time when people were getting more interested in horror in comics, and it was a success. So here we are with the Immortal Hulk, and it's now over at issue 50. For the record, just to put it out there, the Immortal Hulk was not my favorite title. The Hulk is not my favorite character. I wouldn't call myself the biggest Joe Bennett fan. I think I appreciate that he does something unique, but it's not the style I typically like. I of course like Art Adams, as people have probably seen, very much Walt Simonson. I'm not saying he's bad by any stretch of the imagination. He was a right person for the right time for this book. And I think his stuff looked unique, and that sometimes is what really counts the most. So it was a success for both. Now, obviously, things have happened with Joe Bennett. Joe Bennett has been, for all intents and purposes, removed from Marvel and won't be coming back. Al Ewing very publicly distanced himself from Bennett. And Bennett was taken off of this Timeless book, this kind of Kang big event relaunch. Definitely, I think Marvel had in their minds that Joe Bennett was going to do a lot more with them. That's clearly over now and not coming back. Bennett has gone on to do something, I think, with Vox, I think, is where he's off now. There is, or Vox Day, sorry. There's more that's very, very different things. He's having his career. Al Ewing, of course, is on to Venom and Shield and kind of other books as well. There is a Sword. Sorry, not Shield, Sword. I'm flustered a little bit because this is one of those cases where I wouldn't do it this way, and I'm trying to just determine if I'm angry about it. I'm not angry, but maybe disappointed is the word. So as tradition, when these series end, and Immortal Hulk getting to issue 50 and having this very celebrated run, this end is a big deal. And at the very end, we get several letters printed, and then we get comments from the creative team. And we get comments from Al Ewing, we get comments from Joe Bennett, we get comments from others. I guess I should be thankful that Marvel saw fit to include Joe Bennett's comments at all, given kind of what has now happened with him. But there's a striking difference between the two. And this is an area where my view outside of comics, outside of everything else, is thank your team, thank the people that got you there, thank the people who made it a group effort. Don't make it all about yourself. That's what a good leader does. A leader stands and pulls with the rest of the team. The leader doesn't just stand back and scream instructions. So when I read these letters, it's hard not to read into what's happened here. Al Ewing in his comments says, "Thanks for sticking with us through it all, Adrian. And that's the last letter that was printed. And thanks for writing the last letter of Gammagrams. You and all the readers over the last 3 years are endlessly appreciated in turn. Without the readers, none of this matters. And if the series has been in any way helpful or useful to anyone who needed it to be, even one person, that's the most important thing to me. That's the only thing that makes any of this worthwhile. Thank you all for reading." And we're done. Next month, Donny Cates, Ryan Ottley will be bringing you a brand new #1, a fun, fresh chapter of the Hulk story. I don't know everything they've got planned, but I do know it's going to be wild finding out. So I'll ask you one last time on behalf of everyone's favorite Jade Giant to keep it green. Al Ewing. Those are his comments. Al Ewing obviously answered some other things, talking to some of the people who wrote in, talked about how much the book meant to them and everything else throughout. But one thing he didn't do is mention Joe Bennett in any way, shape, or form. And that is disappointing. By contrast, Joe Bennett's message, which comes immediately afterward, talks about getting into comics, and he writes, "I've always wanted to work in comics since my childhood of 46 years ago here in northern Brazil at the edge of the Amazon rainforest. It was an impossible dream at the time, but my generation broke a barrier, and we managed to achieve our deepest wishes, from humankind reaching Mars to a young Brazilian guy who dreamed of being a comic artist. You can imagine what it means to me to have made one of the most innovative runs of my and my late father's favorite character. I would stay 50 more issues making the Hulk, but nothing like this would be possible without the extremely talented people who join me. They are my journey's friends. Al Ewing, first name on the list, Roy Jose, Belardio Bravo, Paul Mounts, Corey Petit, Will Moss, Sarah Brunstad. We are the Gamma Gang, and we made history." Bennett would go on to thank Tom Brevoort, Dan Buckley, other people at Marvel, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby for the origins of this entire character and everything else, and Herb Trimpe, Dale Keown, Sal Buscema, Peter David, Steve Ditko, John Byrne, Lin Wynn. And he makes a comment, "We're only seeing the horizon because we stand on their shoulders, the absolute giant of comics. My deepest gratitude to all the Jade Giant fans for their support you gave us to get here. This is not a farewell letter. The green door is not closed, just slightly opened." It's stark, the two. And it's always kind of maybe a little dodgy to, read too much into these letters. But as you look at the other ones as well, as you look into Roy Jose, talking about the team, you look at, Bravo, talking about, again, the team, both Joe Bennett, Al Ewing, everyone, you get a lot of thanks. And we don't know what's in any of these people's hearts. We don't know if that thanks is heartfelt or not, but it's classy. And there's probably no better way to say it than that. It rubs me slightly wrong to get to the end of this run and to see two very starkly different letters, two starkly different mails. Now, both thanked the fans, the customers, and that is critically important and very useful. I'm glad that is there. But it says a lot that Bennett thanked not only the entire team, including someone who's, very publicly distanced himself now from Bennett and said he doesn't want anything to do with him, basically, in the future, as well as former creators, alive and deceased. And Ewing's, which really just focuses on, kind of hyping up the next run with Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley. I'm struck by comics again in this industry where people talk about it being very small, very much a partnership, a collaboration, very much a community of people that need to support each other, which is true until it's not. And when it's not, it seems to come suddenly, it seems to come abruptly, and it seems to come coldly. Now, everybody's got different takes on Bennett. Did he do something wrong? Did he not do something wrong? Please, but that's not the video for this here. I've done other videos talking about kind of what went on there, kind of laid out the situation. Whenever I lay out the situation as evenly as possible, somebody comes in swinging, wants to fight with it. That's not the point. The point here I'm trying to make is we have the conclusion of this run, a run which greatly helped the careers of Ewing and maybe Bennett. Bennett will now try and find something out on his own. I don't know that the avenue he's going off to now is a good move. That seems like a very strange move, frankly, for his talents and what he's capable of. So it feels like a step down where I think he had better options. But be that as it may, it's his career to handle how he wants. It's undeniable that Ewing's profile rose dramatically because of this book. It definitely helped his independent work. It definitely helped other things. And he owes part of that success to Bennett, whether he likes it or not. Bennett and the visual look and feel of this title was a core part of why it was successful. To completely snub and not thank, it rubs me the wrong way. I'm very much not a person who believes you should be forced to thank people. You should be forced to write certain things. You write what's in your heart. You write what you do. It's up to you. But it's odd. It's jarring when you look at the end of this with what's been established, certainly with other books, with what the norms are, to get to this. I mean, it looks like a very public divorce in a lot of ways. And whereas Bennett's reads as, it's the end of the journey, moving on to other journeys, but thank you to the people current and in the past that helped me get here. Thank you to the customers. Ewing's looks like a just snub. And frankly, not just to Bennett, but the other members of his team. It doesn't read right. Again, maybe it's an oversight, maybe it's just optics, but it comes across poor. And again, Ewing's career was on the rise at Marvel, but I think the Hulk definitely had a major factor in raising his profile because previous to this, he was critically acclaimed, but he really had no series that were long running. I mean, even, currently Guardians has been canceled or halted or will come back again at the future at some point. Who knows? After a relaunch just a couple issues earlier, branding relaunch, not series relaunch. It's all very strange. I don't like this. I think the classy thing to do, whether you agree with what people have done or not do or will do or any of the other factors, I think it's perfectly legitimate to say, I don't agree with what Bennett's done. It bothers me. I'm against it. Perfectly reasonable to hold that position and still thank the man for the run that you had on this book. To ignore it completely seems odd, feels poor. And looking into some of the other times when Ewing has done these kind of end of comic wrap-ups, thanks to everyone, he always thanks the creative team. He did for Ultimates. He did for Mighty Avengers. He's always done that. So it seems particularly strange here. Not like a personality choice of just how he normally is. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. This is an odd one. What do you think? Is it, do they have a responsibility to say thank you? Do they have a responsibility to thank the team, credit the team, or not? Or doesn't even matter? I think any answer is acceptable. This is a personal choice all of you can make, but that's my view. Thanks for listening.